My name's John Tiffany. I'm the chairman of the Cirencester.civic.society, but I'm also chairman of the Project Blackjack Committee. My understanding is that by the early 1960s, inspections had been undertaken and it was clear that the statues were in a pretty deplorable condition. The decision was taken to just to take them down at that stage. I think at that point they were thinking they would take them down and maybe have a look at them to see if they could be restored and be put back up. And then they were taken to the shed in the churchyard. And then subsequently there was a fire and the whole of the shed in the churchyard burnt down. And so we think that all the stonework was removed in order that the shed could be repaired and restored. And that's where the mystery sort of ends. Nobody knows quite what happened to these pieces of stone.
I was been swimming and I cycled up from Blackjack Street there, and as I came round the corner there was all this kerfuffle going on at the church. So I looked and thought, being nosy as I am, I thought, what's going on there? And they said they're moving Blackjack out. So then I sat on my bicycle and I started to watch. And then I said, what are they going to do with him? They said, oh, they're going to take him away, clean him up, and he'll be back up again in about a year. And that was the last we ever saw of him.
My name's Meg Blumsom. I'm the secretary to Project Blackjack. The street we're in is called Blackjack Street. It's a really well-known street in Cirencester. It wasn't always called Blackjack Street. If you go back in the records, it was originally called Temple Street, and then in 1877 the local board decided to change the name to Blackjack Street. We know from some of the history books, and I think one in 1822 mentions that the statue in the niche in the tower is blackened with dirt and grime, and so colloquially the statue became known as Blackjack. And so I think the name of the street probably does relate very closely to the fact that the statue had become called Blackjack, and the street, because the statue looked down the street, becomes known as Blackjack Street. Being part of a project like this is quite amazing, because there are very few times in your life when you can actually be part of something that will last and be present in the town for such a long time.
Hi, I'm Beth. I'm CEO here at New Brewery Arts in Cirencester. I've been feeling it was really sad to see these empty niches on the side of the church in Cirencester. They're just spaces that are crying out for sculpture and for art. That's exactly what they were designed for. We really went out really widely to find somebody who would produce these new sculptures. So we put out a really wide national call for artists, and we whittled that down to a short list, and then we had a panel group who met, and we chose Rodney at that moment. But what really shone out about Rodney's work was his thinking behind the statues and behind St John the Baptist and Mary, and his work had a real dynamism. I think it carries a real significance, a project like this, in terms of the town and in terms of the community, because it's going to be there for so long.
I'm Rodney Munday, and I sculpt mostly in clay for either bronze or bronze resin. Well, it was an interesting one. I mean, I haven't done anything that's gone as high up as this, and that is interesting because what you've got to think about is what people are going to see from below. And on the sort of content side, it was interesting too, because I was interested in the different, in how you actually present John the Baptist and the Virgin and Child to a contemporary Christian audience. John the Baptist I thought was going to be interesting anyway, because he is such a character, and all representations of this sort of hairy man from the wilderness, great fun. I found it difficult as time went by to come to terms with the character I was presenting. I was wandering around the church and someone came up to me and said, have you seen the John Baptist window? And there was John holding a lamb. Then I thought, there he could be holding out the Lamb of God over the town. With regard to the Virgin and Child, I saw a problem from the start, because the traditional image is not very attractive to a modern viewer. So I thought, well, what do you do to make it relevant? Because if you just have a mother and child, it could be any mother with any child. And so what I decided to do was to have Mary not with a baby, but she's normally represented, but with a little boy. And because she's up there, he wants to see what's going on in the street below, so she's holding him like a mother would, you know, to have a look. But it's in the position of the crucifixion. First thing I always do is just do some very, very rough sketches, usually with a ball pen. In a sense, the sketching takes place with the maquette, because then you're working in 3 dimensions. Then I basically make up, I will take measurements and then enlarge it, and then I make up an armature, and then I just start putting the clay on. It's been a lovely project, and things just seem to fall into place. And yes, it'll be interesting to see it go up, and it'll be lovely to see it there.